Events this week are a reminder that no one is coming to save us from the threat of a second Trump term. We need to organize and vote as if our lives and the lives of our families depend on it, because they do. Welcome to MOMocrats MOMochat, part of the Demcast family of podcasts. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills with Karoli and Aliza Worthington of crooksandliars.com. And it's been a week, ladies.
It has been a week. It has absolutely been a week. No question about it.
Show us the wine.
Yes. This week has been a really long year.
It has.
Yeah.
It has. And let's begin with the Supreme Court. The fact that all the pundits are going, Trump wins, Trump has won, Trump's going to get his way.
Yeah, but
and
well, my first reaction to that was fuckity fuck. There.
Yeah.
I just broke the ice on that. Just mark it not safe for work right now.
As I do every week.
Yeah. Okay. So, but, I mean,
is it though? I mean, is it automatically a really? I mean, and I mean, of course, everybody was absolutely shitting on Merrick Garland.
Yes,
he deserves it. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure I understand why, but I don't claim to understand like the connection exactly between.
He dragged his feet on appointing a special prosecutor. He should have done it as soon as he was confirmed. He should have done it. He shouldn't have waited for the January 6th committee. He shouldn't have waited for any of it. He should have. They impeached. They failed to convict. He should have, as soon as he was confirmed, appointed a special prosecutor, had the investigation underway, and been ready to prosecute it way before it ever was. I mean, as it was.
So how long did it take him to appoint a special prosecutor? So it took him 7-8 months.
2 years.
2 years is what it took him. He should have done it in 2021. He didn't do it till 2023.
He was busy putting the resources into going after the foot soldiers, which
he was prosecuting. Right. He was prosecuting all the people, the rioters.
But there was no action on the people at the top.
Yeah, and there should have been. And I you know what, I was a big defender of Merrick Garland, but in this, I think he really blew it on this.
I think he made mistakes. I think that he's probably a good man who in another time would be perfect as AG, but he did not read the dangers that the country is under in this time. He went in there trying to restore DOJ to normalcy. And
I mean, good.
It can't be normal because the threats against the country are not normal.
Right.
And I think it's an error. Building the case against Trump from the bottom up, right? Like,
but most of the case came from the January 6th committee. They built the case.
Right. It could have been him doing that. There's no reason.
It could have been happening concurrently. It could have happened sooner.
And there was things that Jack Smith could do that the January 6th committee couldn't do. And he could have gotten that done. There were subpoenas that he could have issued that they couldn't.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So it could have been concurrent. It wasn't. And now, basically we're sitting with what we've got, which is, trials that will take place. Whether they take place in time for an election, I don't know. And so, but going back to what Donna was saying, when this happened, everybody at MSNBC lit their hair on fire. And for that matter, most people on CNN lit their hair on fire too, because I got so tired of watching the meltdowns of people on MSNBC. I switched to CNN and it wasn't much better, to be honest. And Fox News, of course, was barely covering it at all. So
right.
Why would they?
Yeah. So
except to say that their bought and paid for Supreme Court was doing
well.
Right.
And that's what's going on right now.
Yeah.
They waited 2 weeks to grant that cert,
Yeah.
which they could have done right away
Mhm.
if that's how they were going. And especially when you look at what the Court of Appeals wrote down, and all the legal experts were saying this is like a perfect hearing, a perfect decision.
That's the thing. And that's why I started shouting profanity, because
Right.
there's nothing to add to that decision. Nothing.
Except that they
Zero.
changed the scope of what they want to hear.
Well,
They've changed the language.
well, what they want to hear is narrower. I mean,
Yeah.
they just want to hear whether a president can be a criminal in office or not. That's the only, they don't care about his double jeopardy argument. They don't care about any of that. They threw that back. It said, yeah, the 11th Circuit is right about that. Let's hear about whether he can commit crimes while he's in office.
Right. Whether he's got
That's essentially, and I mean, I don't have a problem with them limiting it to that. I have a problem with them slow walking it. And the point has been made over and over again in the last couple of days. And I know you guys have probably heard this too, that when they want to do something fast, they do it. I mean, Bush v. Gore was decided in 3 days.
Boy, was that decided quickly.
Mhm.
Right. And
I mean, I was having so many flashbacks to Bush v. Gore this week. It was the exact same anger, in my chest, just physical feeling.
it was absolutely what
You
it
know,
was definitely a throwback to that.
because you feel helpless,
Yeah.
right? Now the truth is we
Powerless.
are not helpless.
Right. Powerless is how you feel, actually.
Right. But we are not powerless.
Right.
We're not powerless in terms of whether he gets reelected.
The Republicans want us to feel like there's no reason to keep fighting. They want us to give up.
Right. Well, we're not going to do that.
And we're not going to do that.
But the thing is, and is that you can hold two thoughts at the same time, right? We have to get out, we have to fight, we have to beat him at the ballot box, and we have to do it by a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You can hold that thought, and you can also say it's really fucked up that he is using the justice system essentially to delay justice.
I mean, just before we went on the air, I was watching Barry Burke, who was one of the impeachment prosecutors.
I like him.
Yeah, he was great. And he described Trump as a legal terrorist.
Mm-hmm.
And that is who he is. He is a legal terrorist, and he gets away with this, and it's infuriating, and especially when you have got this small segment of the country that cheers it on.
Right.
I mean, I really do believe the worst thing about the last 9 years was discovering just how awful some of our fellow Americans are and how many of them there are.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I just keep coming back to, because I just never ever thought that so many Americans would be stupid enough to think that a reality TV star who was bankrupt a zillion times was capable of running the United States, of being our president.
But not just that. I mean, it's like, okay, you could forgive them for being stupid about it, right? But it's a cult now. I mean, they worship this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's part of his appeal, isn't it? That he can get away with shit, and that's what they.
Yes.
I don't think that they. I don't think they. I don't think it's stupidity. I don't think they've been duped into thinking this guy knows how to run things. I think they realistically are impressed that he can get away with things, and they want to be able to get away with things too. I mean, yeah, some of them are stupid enough to think, oh, he really represents me. He's looking out for me. He's, he's my kind of guy, like
it's that
I
whole
mean, those people
owning
are
the libs thing,
but what he has done is, found he's unleashed he's unleashed and legitimized the corrupt toddler greed and the desire to get away with bad behavior and not be punished for it, the lack of consequence. And that's yeah, I don't think it's stupidity. I think it's just bad faith, bad behavior, bad.
Well, I
It
think that's
still
also
will.
true, but yeah, and it's also, I mean, I'm thinking now about like the Christian nationalists and Southern Baptists and all those people. I mean, that's their whole thing is partly ignorance. It's partly
Yeah.
also the same thing that you were describing, right? They want that power. They see they falsely claim power
Yep.
through Trump rather than their own religion. And I mean, it's really a betrayal of Christianity. So, and yet it's something that we're going to have to contend with, and we're going to have to contend with it hard in November in a big way.
Yeah. Because I mean, the truth is, we live in a pluralistic society. And for 2 centuries, the fact that we were a nation of immigrants is what built this country. It made us stronger, it made us more resilient.
Mhm.
Um, I was just reading in the paper earlier this week that one of the reasons why the US economy is doing so well is because of our immigrants.
Yes.
I mean, this is part of the reason why they want more white babies. They want they want to cut off the immigration and make the white people have more children to fill those jobs that nobody wants.
It's so honestly, this week has made me feel like they're trying to shoot us right back into the 50s.
Oh,
You know,
no,
Farther,
farther back, the
farther.
1850s.
yeah.
The 1850s.
With child labor and childbirth
Mhm.
and
And yeah,
and
I mean,
science and
it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And this week has just made me feel like, you know, yeah, send us back to the 1800s or whatever. But I mean, the idea, we're not going to do that. I mean,
No,
that's not the society we live in, whether they like it or
not
not.
the world we live in.
Right.
And what they are trying to do, I mean, again, there have been a lot of features on Donald Trump's so-called foreign policy. The way the House Republicans, the way Mike Johnson is refusing to fund Ukraine,
Ukraine.
you know, I mean, what they want to do is get rid of NATO,
I know.
get rid of the world order that has kept us relatively at peace for the last 80 years. Um,
Well, and I'd like to add into that I think if you could actually dig down into the facts of all of this, that what you find is really ugly oil and gas interests at the bottom of it.
mhm,
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
Don't, it's not ideological. It's not, anything more than that we're really fighting, I think, the last battle of the oil and gas
Yeah,
Interesting.
barons
yeah.
here.
I think it was a mistake to allow American corporations to go multinational
Yeah, I
Oh
agree.
wow. Okay.
I do.
because they have no loyalty
Right.
to
To
this
this
country,
country.
just to their stockholders.
Yeah. So you're
And
talking
so
about like
what do you mean by American companies going multinational? What does that mean?
you're talking about the oil companies specifically or companies in general?
we'll start with the oil companies, but I see it in the other big multinationals,
Yeah, I do
you
too.
know,
So
food
what do you mean
companies.
by going multinational though? What does that mean?
It means that they do business in all the other countries as entities of those countries.
Right. They take advantage of whichever tax laws are more advantageous to them.
So
They,
they go to those countries and practice their business in those countries rather than the United
oh
States,
no,
or
they practice in the United States.
yeah,
The
so
laws in the United States are very favorable to them.
Yeah.
Um, no,
But there
they're
are laws
happy
in
to
other
live
countries
here.
that are even more favorable.
Right.
yeah, so then why was going multinational?
Because they don't do what's in the interest of the United States. They do what's in the interest of their company. That comes first.
Right.
Okay.
And if what's good for Exxon is bad for our country
America.
because of climate change,
They don't
they're
care.
going
They'd
to
rather
pick
do what's good for
Exxon
Exxon. Right.
over.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
but I mean, going back to Trump and the interests that are driving him, and the reason that Mike Johnson and those guys don't want to fund Ukraine is, in my opinion, because they are pandering to Russia, because
Mhm.
Russia, there's just too much oil and gas
There's
money in
oil.
Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I can't prove any of this, but probably Rachel Maddow's book is the best evidence that we have of that.
Hmm.
Um, but I would be willing to stake something on it, to be
Yeah.
honest. And I think
Yeah.
that would be the reason that Republicans are selling their souls to Russia, because they have always been in the pocket of oil
Big
companies.
oil.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so
And
that's
it's
why.
why they're so resistant to green technology
Right.
Yeah.
or any acknowledgement that climate change is human originated.
Howard. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're gleefully saying the EV industry isn't doing well. Blah, the demand for the cars is down, and
That's, you know what, but that's actually not the case
no,
if you look
because
overall.
this transition was always going to be in spurts,
Yeah.
and it doesn't happen smoothly to transition
No.
from one technology to another.
And
Right.
the infrastructure has to keep up with demand.
That's right.
And that's
And
really
that's been the biggest.
And that's
the
one of
biggest
the things
bottleneck.
that the Biden administration has been working really hard on.
And
Right.
as of today, Ford cars are able to use the Tesla superchargers.
Oh,
Oh, all right.
okay.
And the rest of the vehicle manufacturers in the US are adopting the Tesla standard. Tesla has the largest network of charging stations, and
Okay.
and it's also the most reliable. A lot of people complain that even if you can find a public charger, it is not being maintained properly.
Right. Right.
The Tesla network are all very well maintained. I'll tell you, we've driven up and down California a couple of times, and it's easy peasy to
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've had
charge to charge
places
the car.
you've stopped to find to charge your car. You've had.
The chargers generally are in shopping centers and places that you would want to stop at anyway.
Hmm.
You plug in the car, you get some coffee,
It's in working order. Basically, everything is
always in working order.
good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, that screen tells you how many chargers there are.
Hmm.
You can pick where to go. You can see
Yep.
what it's going to be. You know how long it's going to take,
Sure.
and we only had one charger that was in a place that wasn't desirable, but the rest of them have been pretty nice. Stop and get some lunch. It's a nice way to travel.
Yeah.
I don't miss the Honda Pilot at all.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
No, no, we loved that Honda Pilot. That
It's
was
a
a
nice
great
car,
car.
the Honda Pilot.
It
I
Yeah.
was
know,
I
but
mean,
it's a
2008,
little bit
you know?
different from the Tesla too. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I was laughing. It's just, it's a different. It's a different ride, especially in the back seat.
But the Honda Pilot was pretty roomy.
It was roomy. No question about that. It just had a way of swinging you around a little bit in the back seat.
Yeah.
But it was, other than that,
The Y does have a very, very a lot of leg room in the back.
yeah. So anyway, but Mike Johnson is not just refusing to fund Ukraine. He's basically slow walking everything, including the budget. Yeah. Right. So we have another 2-week extension.
Yes. I mean, is it going to always just be, we're going to be funding the government 2 weeks at a time? I mean, is it always going to be like this?
Since October.
Yeah, since October.
The year started in October.
Yeah, I mean, it's like.
And Kevin McCarthy made a deal. None of this was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the problem. They have a divided Republican itty-bitty majority. Itty-bitty tiny majority.
Two.
So you would think, right, that they acknowledge or realize the fact that they have to do business with Democrats, whether they like it or not, because they're divided. And half their majority just wants to shut down the government. I mean, right. Steve Bannon rants and raves every time they don't shut down the government. That's what he wants. And that's,
that's
him
the problem.
Because he's an anarchist.
Serves their goal to shut down the government.
Right.
Well, so especially while Biden's in office.
Yeah, you have like a chunk of them that, ride with Steve Bannon. And then you have a chunk of them that have at least enough common sense to know that if they shut down the government, they will not get reelected, that the Democrats will run all over them in November, and they shouldn't do that. Yeah. So this is on Mike Johnson now. He's got to do business with Democrats, whether he likes it or not. And
he doesn't like it.
He does not. No, he does not. He does not like it.
Not in the least.
I mean, I cannot imagine that meeting they had at the White House earlier this week, where everybody.
Oh my God! Well, you saw the pictures.
I saw the pictures, but the readouts from that meeting were hilarious.
Yeah,
they had a heated discussion about Ukraine, and Biden was firm with Mike Johnson. I'm just bet he was. I mean,
Mitch McConnell was firm with Mike Johnson.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, and wasn't it the next day that Mitch McConnell said he's done being the leader,
and then announced his retirement? Does my child have something for me?
Well, it's not retirement, but what are you getting?
My child has a new job. And she brought me some hand pies and pastries. They're not for Karoli and Donna, who are in California.
I don't care about
Boo.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Do you know what's in these pies? Sorry, guys.
Nope.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, I'm very excited. Are you going to keep this job? This looks still. I said, are you going to keep this job? Sorry, everybody. When food comes across my desk. Anyway.
Okay.
All right. Sorry, people. As we were talking about the White House.
Mitch McConnell. Talking about Mitch McConnell.
Mitch McConnell. That's right. Sorry. All right.
He's just stepping down from leadership. So, the
day after that meeting.
Right.
Oh,
and I'm sure it's because, it's like how did he put it? The day will come when you realize that it's time to go, and that day is today or something. I mean, it was like, I realized that I'm done now. That's basically what he was saying.
Is that what he said?
They don't listen to him anymore.
Right.
He lost his power.
Yeah.
It's a completely Trumped party. It's not a Republican party. It is a radical party that wants to tear everything down.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, let's not give Mitch a pass on where he was in the helping to tear everything down thing. And I mean, when I wrote this up, the thing that I said was that he's the one who gave them the key to open the door, right? When he blocked, in order to get his Supreme Court
Merrick Garland
appointed. When he blocked Merrick Garland, when he, all the things that he's done have not been, they've been obstructionist and they've been intended to stop Democrats in their tracks. They haven't been bipartisan at all.
It's not just to stop Democrats in their tracks. It was to stop democracy.
Right.
It's anti-democratic. And, 2 hours after Mitch's announcement, we get this decision from the Supreme Court.
Right. Right. So
which would not have happened if Trump hadn't appointed at least 2 illegitimate justices.
Yeah, I would go with 3 also, but
yeah.
Or which wouldn't have happened if Clarence Thomas, I consider him an illegitimate justice too. But I mean,
Biden's responsible for Clarence Thomas. So
I don't know. I mean, yeah, but if the impeachment process were worth anything, and there was any chance, if anybody had any ethics whatsoever,
But you guys, this is yet another reason why this election is so crucial.
Yep.
Both Thomas and Alito are old. They're at retirement age.
Past retirement age.
They're going to go over the next 4 years. They might not. If Trump is president, they will go.
They'll resign the day he's sworn in. You bet.
Oh, sure. Yeah. But I thought you meant they were okay.
Never mind. They might last.
I thought you meant something different.
They might retire. They're not going to retire if a Democrat is elected, but
no.
I just think at some point
we can't let Trump get. I just can't even fathom another Trump because if
no, you can't.
You can't. That's why.
Because democracy is over for the next 150 years. If we're,
and that's why we have to be strategic. It is why we have to give to the Biden-Harris campaign. Yep. It is why we have to give strategically to Senate and House races.
Yep.
Because we need Biden-Harris to win again, and we need to give them the majorities that will allow them to do what needs to be done.
Right. Should we start a segment focusing on the congressional and Senate races that we feel like people should be paying attention to and giving their money to if they are perchance in a safe state?
Absolutely.
Maybe we should start doing that.
Absolutely.
Because I don't even know if I'm in a safe state anymore now that Larry Hogan has entered the Senate race.
You have a chance.
I do not want Maryland to become a purple state. Let me tell you that much.
Yeah.
And that has really that really changes the landscape here. So I feel like we should maybe take the last 10 minutes of every episode or something. We should focus on a state or something, or a couple of races that I don't know. It's just
so for this episode, all I can say is that anybody who can set up at least a monthly donation to Biden-Harris is what you want to do, because that at the beginning of all of it is
the
getting
president
the money now. Don't wait and donate in November. That doesn't help.
Right. That doesn't help.
They need the money now.
And if you do a monthly, then they can count on that when they're budgeting. Yep. When they're
even if it's $10 a month, they'll count on it and they'll know, and it'll you won't even miss it. It comes right out of your your paycheck, your bank account.
And don't make yourself feel better that they've got more cash on hand than the Republicans do, because the Republicans have more PACs.
They've got
more dark money that's going to come to their rescue.
Absolutely. So,
and they're cheaters. They're fucking cheater.
There's that.
And they're gonna find a way, which is why we not only have to win, but we have to win by an absolutely indisputably large number.
Right. And that's the challenge. And
that is the challenge.
And that's why they need the money, because they have the structure. They're building structures in the states to get out the vote.
They need the ground game, and they need their people to get they need to overcome all the obstacles Republicans have put in place for Democrats to get to the ballot.
And not just Republicans, because the Israel-Hamas war and the U.S. response to it is splitting us apart.
I do think there's a split now, but I'll tell you, like, I know in the Michigan primary, I know what you're talking about with the uncommitted.
Missouri,
I do think that they will come back together in the end. I do. I think that they used the primary to make a statement. Biden is clearly trying to work toward a ceasefire and release of the hostages. And Hamas is the one right now that's not cooperating. They turned down every possible offer, but he's still working. He's working with the Egyptians. He's working with the Jordanians. He's working. I get these readouts. They're talking every day. They're trying to find a way to make this happen. And that's, I think, what needs to happen right now, is that people need to see him.
He's doing what he needs to do. What Democrats, what leftists need to realize is that Biden is not president of Israel. And that Biden is not in control of Netanyahu. And Biden is not the one who can impose a ceasefire or make that decision.
No matter how many times you tell them that.
And so that's what they have to understand.
But they do need to see Biden trying, and that's what.
Yes, and if they looked, they would.
But they don't, because they're getting their information.
No, one thing I've noticed is that since the word ceasefire have come out of his mouth, and since yesterday, especially when Hamas turned down that deal, I've noticed that the reports of protesters at his appearances have not been as prominent as they have in the past. So, I mean, it's only been a couple of days. I can't say that that's a trend, but I can say that I do think the more public he makes it, that he's pressuring and put it back on Bibi. That's where it should be, right? I mean,
absolutely should be. We'll have to see what happens with,
and it should be on Hamas.
Humanitarian airdrops.
I keep wishing people would say, well, if Hamas could return the hostages.
The only people who say that are the Jews.
Right. And people,
and
like
we're a minority.
Have friends that are Jews and say that and know better than the rest of them. But here's the thing. Yeah. I mean, obviously the release of the hostages, but what Hamas did yesterday, I didn't play well at all. Unfortunately, neither did Bibi bombing the civilians waiting for aid in Gaza. I mean, that was bad. That was wrong. It shouldn't have happened. But again, neither one of those things are things that Biden is responsible for. All he can do is try to intervene and use the pressure of the United States, which is a pretty big pressure point, to try to get these people to do something. But this is an unwinnable war. This is why we never want to publish stuff about Israel and Palestine on our site, because it is divisive and it's unwinnable, and because the people who are actually involved in it don't seem to want to come to any resolution.
That's not true, but the people
I'm talking about the leadership. The people
in power don't.
That's what she meant.
Who live in Israel.
The leadership is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the people who are out there trying to eat. I'm not. But the leadership are very, very stiff-necked on both sides of this. And I feel like the only way that we get to a place where hostages are released and ceasefire happens is if Bibi goes and Hamas is somehow beheaded. And I don't mean
it needs to be
that,
Hamas needs to be neutralized, but I
I
don't know if it's
well,
possible.
and the reason I say because Bibi goes is because he's the one now who's authorizing more settlements in the West Bank. In the
Yes,
middle, I
which
mean,
is
talk
horrible.
about shoving a middle finger in the face of the people.
Yeah,
What the hell?
and Biden's been pretty outspoken as being against that too.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not sure what the leftists in this country want from him, and
They want him
what
to
they think they're going to
abandon
accomplish
Israel
by
entirely.
not voting for him, like they're threatening. I'm not sure what they think they're going to
They
accomplish,
want
except another Trump presidency.
They
So-
want him to abandon Israel entirely and to cease giving them any aid at all. That's
Yeah.
their demand.
That's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
I know that.
Also, I would add to that I don't think you should, again, this is where we started. I don't think you should take the uncommitted vote that happened in Michigan
Right.
and assume that that will happen in the general election. And the reason
Because
I say
I heard that Barack Obama had almost that there were nearly
That's
as many uncommitted votes for Barack Obama.
there were
Yes.
more uncommitted
Oh, there
votes.
were more.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So
Oh.
this was when
2008?
Michigan got disqualified because they moved their primary to up earlier than it was supposed to be.
Oh, okay.
And this was back in 2008.
Yeah.
Okay, when he was running against Hillary.
Uh-huh.
And so they encouraged, she stayed on the ballot.
Mhm.
Well, okay, so this is when he got uncommitted. She stayed on the ballot, I think is how it worked. It's been a long time, so I may have this wrong. So everybody should check Wikipedia or something to find out. But no, it was he stayed on the ballot and she ran an uncommitted campaign in Michigan.
In 2008.
There was like 140,000 basically that voted uncommitted, which was
basically a protest vote for Hillary.
Right. And then when they resolved all that at the end, they proportionately split those delegates. It didn't matter. It was moot at that point anyway, because he was going to be the nominee. But this
also
happened before. Yeah.
Yeah. In 2012, that's when he got almost the same uncommitted that Biden did this time. So, that uncommitted option
I'm not
honestly, in a primary, I think it's okay for people to do that. It's like, this is your chance. If you're going to make a statement, the primary is the time to do it.
Yeah.
Right. Don't be doing it in the general election. Do it in the primary. So I'm okay with that. And they certainly put some pressure on Biden, and he's responding to it. And
I think that's clean now. Have your tantrum now.
Right. Exactly. Make your statement now when it is heard and it's not going to wreck democracy, and then come back around. And, the people that were pushing that had their own political reasons for doing it. And, again, at least it's the primary and not the general. Where we don't want it, is when we're in October and they're saying, just cast your vote for, Jill Stein or something like that.
My God.
Right?
Yeah. Marianne Williamson.
RFK Jr. Endorsed Rand Paul to be the leader of the Senate. RFK Jr. endorsed Rand Paul to be the leader of the Senate, which tells you all you need to know about RFK.
About RFK Jr., yeah.
I mean, you just don't.
What a putz.
He's just nuts. I mean, I feel sorry for his family. They must be like, if he didn't have his own money, they could just like yank him back in, but they can't because he does. So, yeah, whatever. But yeah, I mean, talk about destroying a legacy.
A name legacy, anyway. I mean,
anyway, yeah. And speaking of names, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, speaking of names, go on.
I was going to say, Hunter Biden certainly held up his family name and defended it well this week. And I just like to give him a round of applause.
He is.
He did a good job. And
He performs well under pressure, it seems.
I haven't read the whole transcript yet, but
Yeah.
what I have read makes it pretty clear that he first of all, he was prepared.
Mhm.
He knew facts, and he wasn't there to play around with these guys. He wasn't apologetic. He was totally, which he shouldn't have been, and he wasn't.
Yeah, for what? Yeah.
And I mean, like when he had the standoff with Matt Gaetz, I was like, I wish I could have seen that.
Mhm.
So, I mean, Matt Gaetz asked him if he was doing drugs when he was on the board of Burisma, and Biden looks at him and says, in all seriousness, do you of all people really want to ask me that question?
Yeah. Oh my God. What did he say?
Gaetz was like, yeah, I do want to ask you that. Because really, you want to ask me that question? I don't think you do.
Well, did you see Eric Swalwell's questioning?
I haven't gotten to that yet. But did you? Tell us.
Well, basically, he asks Hunter Biden, did anyone in your family go to work for the White House other than your father? He goes, no. Did anyone in your family get 41 patents from China? No. Did anyone in your family earn billions of dollars from the Saudis?
Saudi Arabia? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was just a whole thing like that. Then Swalwell goes, no further questions.
Oh, it's been fun this week to watch James Comer trip over his own tongue trying to defend the thing that isn't there. I mean, it's like there is no case. They have no case. Not that stops them.
It's been fun to see some pushback in the media too, because occasionally people have been pushing back in the media against this also, and that has been really nice to see. If only more people did it.
If only they did it, because for the last 20 years they have been running bogus investigations to try to fish for just anything they could. It began with Whitewater. And, all those damn Benghazi hearings, and what they turn up is so inconsequential, but then they find something that they could make something out of. And that's been their game plan for 30 years.
I mean,
I think the media would be onto them.
We have them on tape planning that.
Yeah.
They were plotting the Benghazi. Like Steve Bannon was telling them what the timing on the Benghazi thing should be so that they could do the maximum damage.
I mean, they basically admitted it was so that they could hurt Hillary's chances of winning the election. I mean, they came out and said so.
So it's not a secret. And it ought to be, that the media actually looks at this and says, and I will say this, there was a reporter, I don't know, I think maybe for Politico, I'm not sure, in that really hammered Comer in a press conference, and like,
oh yes, I think it was Axios.
Oh, it's Axios. Okay,
I think it was Axios.
All right, so same parents, different,
right.
So, I mean, basically, Comer was like, "We've got him dead to rights because yada yada," and this reporter just basically says, "I don't see that evidence. Why don't you tell me what evidence you have?" And Comer
I saw that.
falls all over himself, not giving any evidence. And the reporter says, basically, that's not evidence. Give me some evidence of what's going on.
I mean, especially after Smirnov was arrested, and there's like nothing there. The special prosecutor who has been investigating this for 5 years, there is nothing there on
Well,
Hunter.
it's worse than that, right? I mean,
it's not that there's nothing there. The special prosecutor is like taking his cue from the Russians.
Right. It's Russian intelligence that's feeding Smirnov. So it's worse than nothing there. It's Russian propaganda.
Yeah.
I mean, I just can't. But it was so good. It felt so good to watch a reporter actually push back and say, "There's no evidence. There's no evidence." And Comer is just like, blah, 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 blah. and it's how it ought to work all the time. And if it did work that way, and we didn't have Fox News over there spinning their bullshit, right? Their border bullshit. That's all they've got these days. They've given up on it, and it's working, by the way.
It's
so
it's
dumb.
working because, even Democrats now seem to think that the border is one of the biggest problems. And, yesterday,
Where's that Democrat? Send that Democrat to me. I want to
yesterday,
discuss things with them.
yesterday you had a dual photo op of Biden and Trump, both at the border, a couple hundred miles away from each other.
Masterful.
And Biden is just like, well, I invite Donald Trump to come and work this out with us together.
Yeah.
Because we had the solution
Let's fix
that
it.
the Republicans wrote and all the things the Republicans want. And then he told them to scratch it.
He told them to tank it.
So I'd just like to add something in
I
here.
invite him to come work with me.
Biden so masterfully put Trump in a box with that.
Yeah.
That it was perfect. And I know some of my friends on the left, I don't know if they listen to this podcast, but they were like, oh, he's complicit with Trump now because that awful bill. He wants Trump to work in America. Do you not understand what he just did politically? Because first of all, there's no way Trump is going to join him. He basically, what happened with this whole bill?
Political jujitsu, what he did. It's just.
Right. What happened with this whole bill is he said, let's give them everything they want. And they still won't pass it. So they gave them everything they wanted. And they couldn't take yes for an answer. And now they're going to go out to the public and they're going to say, yeah, there's problems at the border and we can fix those. But we had this bill and they, Trump and the Republicans killed it. So now we don't have funding to do what we were otherwise going to do. It was actually a brilliant strategy. It's worked out well. They played into his hands.
But that is why I think there is this contingent of leftists, left-wingers, leftists, whatever you want to call them, left of me, who are determined to not see Biden for what he is and not see what he does for what it really is, and say, oh, he's in league with Trump, or he's just the same as Trump, so that they can, justify their I don't know what the word is.
Well, there are a number of people that want to push him left, but here's the thing. In this case, I mean, the people I know, they actually are in Biden's court most of the time, but there are times where they want to push him left, and this is one of the times they did not like this border bill one bit, right? I mean,
there's a lot not to like.
What they're not seeing is that Biden probably didn't like that border bill either.
That's not the border bill Biden would have written if he wanted to.
I mean, it's not. He did immigration on his first week in office or whatever. Yeah. But the point was to try to get to maneuver into a place where you could highlight that Republicans, and particularly Trump, are just using that border crossing as a tool, right, to light up people, to get bigots to vote. And it's working. Unfortunately, it's working. And that's why we have to counter message that as well as we can. But I would also like to say that yesterday Biden went to Brownsville so that he could meet with the Border Patrol and the people that are actually doing the work down there. Trump went to Eagles Pass, and that little town is really pissed off at how they've been used to be politicized. And there were people there saying that. But in addition, that's the same place that CBS went that I told you about a couple of weeks ago on 60 Minutes, where they went to check out this border. And it was a bunch of Chinese middle-class people that were coming through that. And this is a mile wide. It wouldn't be that hard to plug it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They could do that if they had the Border Patrol to do it. They could absolutely do it. And
if they had the funding.
If they had the funding for it. Right. So, I mean, you tell that to share that 60 Minutes piece with them and see those people that are coming across are obviously harmless. They're middle-class Chinese people with cell phones who want jobs. That's all. I mean, it's
We've got about 10 minutes left.
Can
There's
we talk a
number
little bit
of
about
things-
IVF? Did we?
Well,
That's
IVF,
one
but also let's not forget Fani Willis too. Sorry.
That's one of the things we have not talked about. I was going to run off the things we haven't done.
I just want to. I mean, in light of reporters doing a decent job, there was a great, and I don't even. It might have been an MSNBC reporter. I don't remember, who had a nice little conversation with Tommy Tuberville, who is about as smart as a box of hair, and he.
That's being mean to the box of hair.
I know a box of hair is
That's
actually
not a nice way to describe Marsha Blackburn.
Well, I'm not sure she would have done much better in this discussion, but
I think so.
he made mincemeat of Tuberville in this discussion. And it was, did you guys see it?
Yes. And Tuberville made mincemeat of Tuberville too.
Of himself. He's like, well, I guess I haven't really read the bill. But he's like, we need more babies. We need more babies. And but IVF is what helps people have babies.
That's right. But you see,
and now people don't have access to IVF, so they're not going to be able to have babies.
Well, this is a problem
in
with
your state.
defining fetal personhood, right?
Yes.
If a fertilized cell has the same rights as a child, you're going to have a problem making babies.
Right, exactly. So, like, why can't you put an infant in the freezer? What happens? It dies. So you put an IVF cell in the freezer, it lives because it's not a baby.
But what's beautiful is all the Republicans that are falling all over themselves to say, of course we support IVF. And yet Cindy Hyde Smith killed Tammy Duckworth's bill again to enshrine IVF federally.
Yeah. No IVF for you.
That's right.
None whatsoever.
It's disgusting.
So,
anyway, we can, but now let's move on to Fani Willis. I just wanted to, it's just in the context of, good reporting, at least.
So Funny, today
my
they
blood
had
pressure was just going.
I'm so glad I didn't hear it. I'm so glad.
Mine too. It was so Fani Willis. They had the closing arguments today for Fani Willis, and all I can say is they were the most sexist, racist piece of shit arguments from those defendants and their lawyers that I've ever heard in my life.
Which lawyer was it? Sato, who said
Sato,
Sato, whatever his name is, that Fani Willis couldn't wait to go have sex.
Yeah,
and it was just disgusting.
It was awful. And it was, and at one point, Sato also referred to them as those people.
Yeah.
Were there any objections to this? Like, did Fani Willis?
It's argument, so you can't.
They're closing argument.
Oh.
So the judge seems pretty level-headed, asked some pretty probing questions of the lawyers that brought this, but it was just so hard to listen to. And then her lawyer, the one speaking for the DA's office, who I've been told he mostly tries murders, so this isn't really his line of work and everything. But he did a great job on the arguments themselves. I mean, the points that he made were the points that needed to be made. He stuck to the law. He stuck to, pointing out that, for example, that in the case of people that were disqualified from the appearance of a conflict, they also had a conflict. It wasn't, but he wasn't the most articulate. He certainly wouldn't have been on Perry Mason.
He was not TV ready.
Yeah,
he was, and that's what frustrated me, because that's what I kept hearing. Like, Katie Tur actually cut away.
Oh my God, it was awful.
I was like, I couldn't believe it. After we sat there and listened to those assholes for an hour and a half, right? She cuts away and she's like, "Is this the best the DA's office had to offer?" And I just wanted to reach through the TV and slap her silly. And and it's like, people, you have to realize that lawyering is actually something that's done in a courtroom and not.
And it's hard work.
It is hard work. And he was dealing with points of law, and it was very important. So I, listening to him, thought he did a great job of bringing all those points of law together and just saying they didn't prove anything. The problem is they fucking tainted the jury for 2 hours now. They were, they were on. I really feel like the judge let that go on way too long. I think it should have been.
He gave each attorney, and there were a lot of them, and each one just they just kept going. And then they had a rebuttal after the.
I didn't watch the rebuttal. I was over it.
What do you mean he gave each attorney what? Like,
he gave them time to
They
slam.
each got 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And there were a lot of them.
It was nuts.
And it was bad.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, regardless, I think the outcome is going to be that she won't be disqualified, that he won't be disqualified, that everything. But that was a 4-hour trial where,
closing
arguments where essentially they had the floor to smear her to the potential jurors for all that time. And they did. Yeah. I mean, she couldn't wait to have sex was one of them. I mean, another one said, well, we don't know if they were having sex, but he was over at their house for, the cell phone records show he was at their house. This isn't a prosecution of a prosecutor. Hello. Yeah. She's entitled. Guess what? She gets to fuck whoever she wants.
That's right.
And so then they tried to make it, well, because they knew that. Right? I mean, that's not.
First of all, they're on the same side, so it's not like what exactly is the conflict?
Right. Well, there is
that they took that they benefited financially.
Well, no, that they didn't. She did, is what they're trying to say. Is that she took all these expensive trips with him and went to all these places that she wouldn't have otherwise gone. And what would one of them described as living the life of the rich and famous on the dime of the Georgia taxpayers? That
dare she paid him back.
Woman enjoy going to nice places.
Exactly.
Right. What's a Black woman doing at a nice hotel?
And that was the undertone of all of it.
Exactly what it was.
Yeah.
It was gross.
It was awful.
So anyway, that's over. Thank goodness.
And my blood pressure is maybe starting to calm down. That's why I had wine. Because it's been a rough
today
week.
is March 1st.
Mm-hmm.
That means that in 4 days, it's Super Tuesday.
Yep. I've already voted. I
did too. I sent mine in.
It's been processed.
How many states is it this time? How many states?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
A lot of them.
I mean, I think Nikki Haley is looking for a few delegates here and there, but let's see. Super Tuesday.
I'm looking it up.
I'm looking it up too.
You're gonna get fat. You're gonna be faster.
Neener.
Super Tuesday. More than 1/3 of the total. 16 states.
That's a lot.
One U.S. territory.
You got there first.
Yeah, 16 states and 1 U.S. territory.
So, folks, if your state is one of those 16, please, and you haven't already sent in your ballot, please get out there. Please vote. Please vote blue all the way down the ballot. I don't know. Some are open. Maybe you want to play some games with Nikki Haley. Okay, it's a primary, but
But in California
primaries are closed.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
You can request the other ballot, but
But
and there are lots of other things on these ballots besides the president, besides the federal. You've got your state legislatures. So much happens in the state legislature. Mm-hmm. You've got judges. We see what havoc bad judges are wreaking on this country. So, and more power to you. It's hard to research the judges. Do your best.
Yeah.
The important thing, we've got school boards
too.
It's just important to vote in every election and for every office.
And if you're in California, yes on Prop 1.
Yeah.
Yep.
You made your decision.
It took me a while to come to that conclusion, but it is actually the right one.
Yeah. It was a tough one.
Yeah.
But I voted yes on Prop 1 too.
Yeah.
And on that note, that is our show for this week. We'll be able to talk about Super Tuesday next week.
Yep.
On MOMocrats.buzzsprout.com, on YouTube, or on your favorite podcast service such as iTunes, Google, and Amazon Music. And be sure to check our Facebook page for updates. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills with Karoli and Aliza saying goodbye for the MOMocrats. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
MOMocrats MOMochat is part of the Demcast family of podcasts.